Okay, it looks like I am audible now. At least my Yeti says that it has a green light. Um, a lovely member of Dottie's Discord server, Foxy, let me know that my dumb ass muted my microphone to yell at my dog, and then apparently, I mean, I pushed the button. I think the recording shows me pushing the button, but that didn't unmute myself, so I spent a good 14 minutes talking into a dead mic out my ass like a jackass. And so I'm going to re-upload my thoughts. Hopefully I can remember some of the things I said. Of course, I did have a script that I kept accidentally clicking the wrong button in the last one. So let me find that. And I believe we were at the part where I was talking about Magnus's advice here. He's the lead designer for the Mystic Arts team. I asked him, as you can see here, about what kind of advice he would find useful. He gave me some actionable advice that I could get away with telling him. And I had mentioned that I'd previously attempted to do my own hex crawl, and I put too many civilization, rest hubs for the actual sanctuary mechanics to be of any real value. And so being able to see a good quality hex crawl like the one in this adventure is helpful on its own. Helps me understand the kind of ratio to sanctuary bases versus points of interest versus dungeons. So I think that's a very useful thing. That got me excited to run the adventure. But yeah, that is the first real question he asked was, what makes you excited to run this adventure? Checking my notes, I wanted to talk about this adventure starts off with some really exciting lore about this King Arthur III and his companions facing off against this druid queen in this epic battle for the Canopy's breach, and all this lore surrounding that, and how all of his friends fought at his side, and many of them were slain in the encounter, and you have the opportunity to learn that bit of lore. I thought that was really fun. I also thought that the town under siege kind of, because the town has sold its primary export of the lumber mill to Standard Pulp, one of the big conglomerates in Atraxia. Shuck, baby, come sit up here. Please do not make me ruin this video. My dog absolutely hates when I'm at my desk. If I go out in the living room with him, he'll be happy, but he'll ignore me. But now that I'm ignoring him to do this video, he is pissed off. I don't know. I don't think you can see him, but he's down on the ground, pouting in a corner. He is the love of my life, but he is a scourge of my free time. Anyway, so another thing that got me excited, the adventure, it starts off with All Hail Gek, which I've had the privilege to run once for some veteran players. Well, one of my close friends who's a veteran player, and his girlfriend who's a fairly new player, and the two of them ran through All Hail Gek, and it was a lot of fun, and they ran the dungeon in a way that I think many veteran players will, because the dungeon, it follows situations, not scenes. It follows the 5-room dungeon format. It follows a lot of Dottie's advice on different interesting scenes that a dungeon can have. And I think a lot of the time, veteran players are going to come up. They're going to see this. They're going to kill the first couple of kobolds. They're going to see this chained up baby dragon. They're going to see the chained up guy who takes care of the dragon. They're going to talk to him. They're going to figure out what's going on in the dungeon. They're going to team up with the dragon, the alchemist in the corner. They're going to kill Gek, and they're going to have, I think veteran players are going to play through that storyline fairly much in the same order, which is cool because later on there is the opportunity to reward them for that decision, that way that they play the adventure, where they don't attack the wormling. They get it on their side. They make an ally of Gek's tribe and kill Gek and free them, and do that. There's a encounter in the adventure later on where they can run into these people, and there's a payoff to that decision, and I think that's really cool. But also, I'm going to run this for my kid brother and his friends, and my kid brother is like 12 years younger than me, and so it'll be interesting to see what some 20-somethings playing probably their first real campaign of D&D, how they're going to react to this dungeon, because they may just, absolutely murder Hobo the Wormling, or they may side with Gek and his necromancy. Who knows what a rookie party is going to be. And so from the first steps into this adventure, it's replayable. It's exciting. I can't anticipate what's going to happen from the word go, and I think that's exciting. I think it's cool, and I've run Lost Mines of Phandelver I think 3 or 4 times now, and this is just as replayable, if not more. And I think that that's an incredibly exciting thing. And then Magnus kind of sits here and he asks us, what parts do we feel are lacking in clarity of design, making you hard to visualize things like that. And I think I want to say that this is something that I won't be able to really give good feedback to him on until I'm running it at the table and run into those specific problems, because I'm the kind of DM where I find it useful to, read the whole adventure, if you have that kind of patience, but knowing the ins and outs of every single dungeon and all the entrances and DCs and puzzles, that's not particularly useful so much as knowing what the story of the dungeon is and how it fits into the overall story. So when I do my first read-through, that's important to me. The kind of advice where I would know, oh, this isn't very clear, I'm going to struggle with this, that's the kind of advice that's session prep, that's at the table reading. That's when I'm going to run into that kind of trouble. So I don't have good feedback in that area right now. It's going to loop back to in the previous video where I talk about how the team puts as much information in as short amount of page as they can because they want it to be table ready and easy to decipher at the table. It's going to fall into that criticism again, where I like that they do that, I understand why they do that, but from time to time you smash into that where you wish you had a better room description, you wish you had more clear art than a dungeon scrawl map, and you wish you had a little bit more lore about what was actually going on here. That's a criticism that it goes against their design philosophy, and therefore it's not a useful criticism for me to say, right? They have expressed to me that this is their design, and for some DMs, it's going to work out. It has worked for me. I've run their Ruins of Brass campaign. I'm 2/3 the way through their Ruins of Brass campaign, and of that, only one of those dungeons have I stopped and gone, I don't have any idea what these people are telling me, and I'm fortunate that I participate in their Discord, and I was able to talk to them afterwards and ask them about their thoughts. But I just ruled it at the table, and that's what I'm going to do with this adventure, right? So that's not something that I can give useful feedback until I'm actually at the table going, shit, I wish it was more clear on the map or in your description that this room had a fucking window in that space or not. Until I get to that, I can't make useful advice there. But then he goes on to ask, is there anything too rigid in the design that you think is going to be difficult to deal with? And to that, I'm going to ask about, I'm going to point out the keystone leveling that they have in here, which I think is super cool. So for each character, let me try and, someone's yelling at me on the Discord. Am I muted this whole time? That would suck. No, okay. I might be muted this whole time, but no one's telling me that I am. So with their keystone leveling, there is a whole section from levels 2 to 3 on how to level up. Let me see if I can get it big enough to be seen on my screen. So there's different story arcs for different pre-made characters, and then some notes on making your custom characters. And One of the criticisms towards the rigidity of this adventure is that I would have preferred a little more guidance here on how to make your custom characters fit into the adventure than what we got in this sampling, and I don't think that's a necessity, but it is a pain point, I think, here in the adventure, as well as I do think that, and I don't know if this was in the original video, because again, I'm not entirely sure where I was cut out. But another issue that I had with this adventure is that there's no guidance here at the end of Geck's adventure on stopping here. If you're a new DM, you should absolutely stop at the end of All Hail Geck and level up all the characters, and then, talk about, oh, did you have fun? What did you like? What didn't you like? What can I do better next time? What would you like to do? Those sorts of things. But you absolutely, if you are a brand new DM, you should not continue this adventure into Dillhorn from there, because I think that capturing Dillhorn in the beginning is going to be so important to the overall success of your attempt at running this adventure. Just because this town is so good. Agatha Amick, fantastic villain. The sister Francesca, great character. Cookie and Meat, just awesome NPCs in this adventure. But if you are not set up to run the Fungal Night, the night at the night at the tavern, Fungal Night encounter, and you don't understand the railway company thugs, and you don't understand the Union trouble, like if you're not ready to run those scenes, and if you don't have a sense of how to get people from the Thirsty Woodsman to Cookie's house, from Cookie's house to Meat's shop, from Meat's shop to the Swinging Hammer, or the Singing Hammer, like if you don't have those, which they're, again, beautifully designed in the redundancy of NPCs sending you on quests and sending you to other locations within the town, it's really well designed in this manner. But if you're a new DM and you're not ready for that, I think it behooves you to stop during All Hail Geck and spend, a week, 2 weeks, whatever, in between your sessions prepping Dillhorn and getting that right, because I think it's going to be very important to the rest of the adventure. I think a lot of the rest of the adventure, you can just open the book to the chapter you're on. As they go into the hex, you flip to that spot and read it aloud. But if you don't know how the town interacts with the Ashwood and how the Ashwood reverberates back to the town, I think you're going to have a hard time running this adventure, because the writers, the Mystic Arts team decided to do this choose your own hex crawl adventure, and so they can't predict where you're going to go and when, and which random encounters you're going to encounter, which dungeons you're going to go to, which dungeons you're going to pass up. So they can advise you, they can give you the quest hooks to make you want to go there, but ultimately, every single time you run this adventure, it's going to be different. They're going to start with different dungeons. They're going to resolve different NPC interactions differently. And so knowing the inner workings of the town, I think, is hugely important, and I would have loved to see some guidance there on how to run the town, and how important the town is to running the rest of the adventure. I think that would have been a pain point for me, for them to have just spent a little bit more time on in the introductory scenario, saying, hey, call it quits here, go read the Dillhorn section, take good notes, and then you're off to the races, run it from there. But that's a small nitpick as me as a veteran DM going, ooh, I know how to do this. I know to read Dillhorn and get the starter town going strong. Is the rookie running All Hail Geck? If they have a 5-hour session and they finish that in 3 hours and want to play for 2 more hours, how easily are they going to be able to parse out Dilhorn and get that running? And I'm not a talented game designer the way the Mystic Arts team are, so I'm not sure how they could have necessarily done that better, but just a little bit of guidance in here saying, hey, please take the time to research the Dilhorn chapter before you continue past All Hail Gek might have been enough to save some rookies in need. What else did I want to mention? Oops, that's Magnus again. But yeah, the custom character situation, I would have liked to have seen a little more spelled out about what each of the 5 stories is and how you could translate those to custom characters a little more. I do think that the Child of Nature storyline is a little hemmed in. I'm not sure what to do with that one, where you have to try and help one of the 2 druid groves and then join them. It kind of makes me feel like, oh, I need a druid or a ranger or someone with the Fey touched feet, something going on there where I have a character with X-Men nature powers that needs the druids for guidance, and I have a player who has 1,000 characters. He's ready to pick one at any given moment, so I could just be like, hey, pick one of your nature characters, and he'll do that. But again, a DM wanting to adapt this for their own campaigns may not have that situation the way that I do and struggle there. The other thing this is me, this is not a criticism of the team, this is a thing that I think is going to happen a lot with people who take a look at this adventure. I think that a lot of people are going to want to take the Atroxia out of the Fungal Queen adventure. And to me, that's really sad because for me personally, there's a fantastic Mystic Arts video, I think several of them, that kind of talk about this idea. But the idea of nesting your world like fractals, where Dali mentions that he just kind of like just drags and drops bloop, whole settings from, he takes the Tomb Kings from Warhammer and he sticks them there and he goes, cool, I have an Egypt analog with Tomb Kings. And he goes, oh, over here are cowboys and flintlock guys. Over here are knights, and over here is Asian inspired, and up here are the Vikings. Like, he just does that in his world, and I think that that's a very cool way to world build, and I think a lot of people are afraid to world build in this way. I want to say that I've been running in Atroxia for like 6 months or so now. I've run 2 campaigns or so in it. I'm running a third. I'm going to run this Fungal Queen adventure. But personally, that I don't feel like the Atroxia that I'm running, as described in the broadsheets and this Fungal Queen adventure, I don't think that it's in Orathon. I don't think that it's in Dadi's world. I think it's in my own world. And as I expand beyond the borders of Atroxia, I'll have my own ideas about what the rest of the world is. I'm very inspired by like Drakenheim and MCDM's their world around like Dalrath and Vasaloria and all those places, and I'm inspired by Sophis from Pathfinder. I like a lot of, I do like a lot of the similar things as Dadi, and as I see more of his Orathon world, there will be bigger parts of that I take, but I don't think that the Atroxia games I'm running take place in Orathon, and I think anyone can do that. I think you can come up with, you could just take Atroxia, it's a continent with a couple of islands around it, you could just take this, drop it in a corner of your world, say that there's a big storm in between your main medieval fantasy land continent and Atroxia, and you can just run it in your world, and maybe the Atroxians with their Age of Sail technology have shown up to the ports of your big capital cities and sold them some guns and some watches and some cigarettes, but they're not, your world isn't Atroxia, right? Like, there's no trains in the rest of your world, they're just in Atroxia, and I think you would benefit yourself running that kind of setting. And I know a lot of people have mentioned, I run Eberron. I think this fits right. I think this perfectly fits into Eberron. You know, you replace standard pulp with one of the dragon marked houses. You replace the Faith of the Mother with the silver chalice or whatever that one, the silver flame, I think they're called. I mix them up with Drakenheim all the time because they're stolen from each. You know, Drakenheim's totally stole it from Eberron, and you just run the adventure wholesale. Instead of being near Blackguard, you're on the train on the way to Sharn, and this adventure needs almost absolutely no other facelift. Maybe instead of Fae in the Druid Groves, you have orcs, and then boom, Eberron. Your game is Eberron now. But I do say, please give Atraxia a chance. It's super cool, especially if you are a member of the Patreon and you have the broadsheets where there's an expanded bit of the world. I think the team has done a fantastic job putting together the world of Atraxia, the colony of Atraxia, and yeah. So let me close this second half out for the second time. Just saying that I'm very excited to run this adventure. I'm likely going to get to run it more than once over the next couple of years, which I think is awesome. I'm very excited to see how different groups with different experience levels tackle this adventure. I'm very interested to see how, after my first playthrough, assuming this group that I'm running it for next month finishes our playthrough. I'm very curious to see what lessons I have at the end of that I take to future runnings of the campaign. I'm very curious to see what other advice people have throughout the running of this adventure. I hope people run this adventure. I think it's really well written. I think the team did a fantastic job. They really outdid themselves. I know I mentioned there's only a couple members of this team. Let me scroll past all these NPC stat blocks. Oh no, yeah, here we go. 5 people. Five people. This was put together in like 3 months, 2 or 3 months, by 5 people. Absolutely wild. It's like a 150-page document, full of art and stat blocks and dungeons. It's insane what this team has accomplished. I'm so happy to have been a small part of that. I'm so happy to support it. I'm so happy for Davi. I hope he and his friends get the love and respect they deserve for this adventure. And I can't wait to run it. It's going to be a good time. With that, I hope you'll keep studying the mystic arts. I know I have a small delay before I cut out here, so hopefully I time this right. My dog is very cute. Let me put him on the screen. Hi, cute dog. All right. Now that should be long enough for them to have heard everything. Davi, you're the